Okay, um, so do you think there's a similar like risk in the United States, like as far as in our nuclear power plants?
So it's one of those questions everyone likes asking. I think the one benefit we have in the United States, our regulatory commission, the NRC, is much more separate from the industry than it is in Japan.
Okay.
Which is something that's more helpful to have, a regulatory agency that has, that commitment to the industry. Also, we made a lot of changes after 9/11 that other countries did not do.
Okay.
One issue I know, besides the security changes, was I think a lot of our spent fuel pools are now in a containment area instead of in Japan where they were kind of under a building, but that building can't really contain it if anything happens. And California specifically, we have two power plants. We have Diablo Canyon and San Onofre, both on the coastline, both in areas that can get hit by a tsunami theoretically. Both of those are much more prepared. I know Diablo Canyon has their diesel generators in watertight compartments. Okay. Also, Diablo Canyon is also like 50 feet above the water line. So,
okay.
And San Onofre had the same thing, watertight compartment diesel generators, which surprising that I don't think they had that in Japan.
Right. Their backups and their backups.
I mean, you have 3-4 backup systems, but they all get knocked out by a tsunami. You're not in good shape.
It's not all you can do. So my next part, you kind of answered it already, but I did read that they are continuing to make a lot of changes to kind of prepare the nuclear power plants here. Mm-hmm. So to avoid that, do you know of any, like maybe anything else that they've done specifically?
I was reading a couple months ago that there was a plan, I don't know if it was a national plan or an international plan for the nuclear power plants to have set regions where they'll store extra diesel generators. So for example, if there's a case where a plant gets all knocked out, it's really quick, you can fly in another diesel generator. I don't know if they're implementing, that would be a good idea to implement some kind of regional plan for that. I mean, one of the issues with Japan was the earthquake happened and knocked out the infrastructure. So you don't have roads to transport these things and stuff like that, which is something you have to plan for.
Okay. Good. As far as public health is concerned, do you think Japan acted appropriately? Do you think they could have done anything else? I mean,
it's a hard question.
Yeah.
I think they did a good job. I mean, I don't know enough about all their reaction. I mean, there's definitely lessons learned. There's lessons learned in all the disasters. Chernobyl had lessons learned. Three Mile Island had lessons learned. People are learning a lot of things about this disaster. At least, unlike Chernobyl, the government evacuated their citizens quickly. So that helped, and they're actually monitoring the food supply and making sure even the used car market I've been hearing had some radioactive cars that they're pulling. So I mean they're doing the best they can. I mean they have the other disaster on top of that, which is difficult.
True. Let's see. Yeah, so I think that's all the questions on there. I was thinking, I don't know if you can answer this, but so we're always concerned about all the other pollutants and like environmental toxins that we're introduced to like every day.
Yeah.
Water, food, everything. Do you know like as far as like maybe like synergistic effect with like any of those chemicals? As far as like anything that we're exposed to on a daily basis with anything from like the fallout, I mean that's a really broad question, right?
I mean, most of the fallout you worry about is just the radiation you get. I mean, the chemical effects we already know about,
right?
And that's usually smaller in most cases than the radioactive effects.
Okay.
I can't imagine anything than just the normal issues with iodine going to the thyroid is a main concern.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's make sure I didn't get anything. No, I think that's pretty much everything. So, I mean, the way it feels like it's pretty safe. You guys, I don't know if you said it or like if the newspaper kind of spun it that way, that there's pretty much like not any kind of public health risk.
Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, I'm only speaking about what's going on in Japan. I mean, there's much higher doses in Japan than we have here. And in the United States, I don't think there's any issue with the amount of dose we'd be getting. I mean, it's a really small dose. Even for the measurements in the paper we wrote, there's a little edit for it, but I think the highest measurement we saw of iodine in the rainwater was 16 becquerels per liter of rainwater. So we try to convert that to the EPA's limits on just in regular drinking water.
Okay.
And when you do that, you realize that it's actually higher than the EPA limit.
Okay.
But the EPA limit, which is how many becquerels, roughly 130 becquerels, I think, per liter is the EPA limit. Maybe a little less than that. Oh, 81. I think it's 81. With that limit, that assumes you're drinking that water 2 liters a day for an entire year.
Okay.
It gives you a dose of 4 milligrams to your thyroid. But that water is not going to have that amount of radioactivity in it for a long time. Iodine has an 8-day half-life. It's gone quickly. So, you know, we didn't see any issue with any of that. And like I said, none of us changed our eating habits. We still drink milk and
everything
like
else.
that.
Okay. Cool. I think that was pretty much it. I think. I was wondering if. Oh yeah. Okay. I was thinking. So this is more of like a general question, but if something like that were to happen here, like, what do you think would be the best way to like protect yourself, like, for something like that?
So if I knew, like, if I was living near a nuclear reactor and I knew something was going on.
Yeah.
Typically, you know, people always mention, I mean, the only thing you can do to protect against radioactivity in terms of medicine is potassium iodide, which only protects against iodine, which is one of the main things we list. So, if I knew that the reactor is emitting iodine at high enough levels, I mean, usually you may want to take potassium iodide, but it's a medication. You should usually consult your doctor, or at least someone telling you that there's a need to do something like that. Other than that, mostly you just listen to what people are saying. I highly doubt a situation like this would happen in the United States, but you know, people say this all the time. I mean,
Sure.
You can't. There's unexpected events. You can only engineer to some point, and you know, just hopefully listen to people. I mean, I know we do drills in the towns around nuclear power plants to tell them what to do if, you know, something happens.
Okay. Cool. I think that'll pretty much cover it. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or?
I mean,
I
is
don't
there any
know.
other basic things you want to know about?
I don't know. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah, there's a forum on our one.
I did see some of the forum. There's a lot of activity there. That's
Yeah.
actually a pretty cool thing. So
it's hard to answer everything. So, I mean, some people, you know, no matter what you say, will not believe what you say.
Right.
Which is always difficult.
Yeah, there was some fanatical responses and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially hard with health effects of radiation. Science is still, we know a lot, but we still have a lot to learn.
And this is more of like a general question. Like I know I've heard a lot of people debating about this on the radio, as far as like, you know, coal burning plants versus nuclear plants. I mean, from what I've heard, it's a lot cleaner. It's better for the environment.
Well, so if you imagine in a nuclear power plant, when we say we burn the fuel, I mean, we have a fuel in this, you know, water bath essentially, and you know, we have fission occur, and then we bury the waste.
Okay.
Idea. We don't literally set it on fire. We don't want fire in a nuclear power plant. But coal, you can imagine, you literally are setting on fire, burning it to create the steam to power the turbines. So the problem with that, you can imagine, is coal is from the earth. There's lots of uranium in the earth, and so when you actually burn it, you're literally emitting uranium into the atmosphere. So coal power plants actually produce more radioactivity into the air than nuclear power plants, which people tend to not realize, that like living near a coal power plant gives you a higher dose than living near a nuclear power plant.
Okay. Cool. And I was also going to ask you, so I did read like a ton of stuff online about they were going to you know, bury all the like reactor cores, I guess, and or the spent fuel rods, and I think it was like outside of, I think it was Nevada, right? And so they decided not to do that.
Yeah.
And now they have like the garages where they're keeping a lot of.
They keep them either in separate buildings, or they have dry cask storage on site.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think that's like the best storage methods? For now, it's like a buying time thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think most scientists agree that the waste is a political problem, not a scientific problem.
Okay.
We know the answer. We know what we can do. It's just the politics getting in the way of, you know.
Okay.
I know the Blue Ribbon Commission is releasing the report on what to do with the waste next month or 2 months.
Okay.
So the head of our department is part of the Blue Ribbon Commission, and so there's a preliminary report. But right now, I think it's just dry cask storage is the option until we can find a good repository.
Okay. Okay, cool. I think that's pretty much everything. So I really do appreciate it.
No
So
problem.